In 1957, the CIA quietly declassified a document claiming the cover-up of one of the greatest empires in the world's history. Here in blue, you can see that it covered most of Asia, and it was known as the Grand Tartary. The Tartarian reign dates all the way back to 1200 AD, and here you can see it in gold. It covered 3.1 million square miles at one point, and here you can see it even covered most of the Americas. Historical texts state that they were multicultural and had multiple religions. They were also a nation of science. There are claims that they had a way to sustain free energy for everybody. Some even believe they figured out the secret to longevity of life. These upper body statues of the Tartarian people say they lived longer than 100 years. Check out the dates, 1368 to 1507. Are they the real reason for the Great Wall of China? Part 2. The CIA declassification of the Tartarian cover-up, Part 2. This picture was from the Turquoise Globe from 1744. This depicts the Great Wall of China, and it says, a wall of 400 leagues built between the bottoms of the mountains by the King of China against the incursions of the Tartars. Not the Mongolians, the Tartars. In history, for some reason, it stated the Mongolians were attempting to raid China, and that they looked like this. Above is a depiction of Genghis Khan and what we were taught that he looks like. And this is probably going to anger some people. But in real, Genghis Khan was white, and so was his wife. And I know, it sounds crazy, people, but look it up. It's true. This is a world atlas of the 1800s. Here, Tartarian flag. The land of Tartary, represented by an owl. An owl. More owls. Owl on the dollar bill, 3. In 1957, the government released top secret information about the cover-up of one of the greatest empires in world history. You see them on this map dating back to the 1700s. Where they inhabit is highlighted in yellow. Asia and almost all of North America and Canada. They even existed up to the 19th and 20th centuries. You can see their flags here. I also found it interesting that their nation was represented by an owl. And you still see this owl depicted to this day. OVO. The dollar bill even depicts owls. And for those of you that don't know, the Illuminati is represented by an owl. This ancient text, Empire de Tartarie, it is believed that their nation was multicultural and multi-religion. They had free sustaining energy and had learned how to live in peace. This is one of their fortresses, shaped kind of like a star. Remind you of something? Check out our Statue of Liberty. They were architectural masters, but their history is buried. Why? So a couple weeks ago, I made a viral video claiming that I may have found a bunch of underwater pyramids all over the ocean floors. I made this claim after the discovery of an underwater pyramid near the Azores Islands off Portugal. Here's the pyramid on Google Earth. So naturally, I thought if there's one, there must be more, and I found one here and here. And if you look nearby, you can find a bunch more. So as the post currently sits at 10 million views, the comments have been interesting to say the least. The most common claim is that it's underwater volcanoes created by the tectonic plates. And I understand there are underwater volcanoes, but this many? Come on. But okay, I took it into consideration and looked into it. And here's what I found. This is the ocean floor near Easter Island. If you take a good look, you'll notice these. They're perfectly round structures with an almost pyramidal shape at the top. Above is a closer look. They're dome-shaped and all over the ocean floor. I even found them near Hawaii, Part 2. Underwater Pyramids and Civilizations, Part 2. So while I was looking for pyramids on the ocean floor on Google Earth, I started noticing these structures. I first noticed them around Easter Island, then Hawaii, and then I started seeing them in various places all over the ocean floor. Regardless, they were much more sparse than pyramids though. So these must have been built by a different clan. But at a certain point of observing these, I noticed something. Oftentimes they'd be seen in clusters of 5 or 10 and right in a row. And that some of the structures in these clusters were collapsed, while others weren't. This was consistent everywhere I found them. So I came up with the conclusion that due to the immense pressure of the water and erosion over time, some of them would cave in. And that would go for the pyramids as well. They were also collapsing. So to the masses who don't exactly know ancient history, they look like volcanoes. Go ahead and take a look for yourself. Like and follow for more interesting content. Alright fam, now this is just a hunch, but I think I figured something out. You know me, I was up last night looking at some Google Earth. And if you haven't already noticed them, behind me, notice the lines. Perfectly straight. Since I started Google Earthing, I've been noticing them all over the ocean floor. And I've always been told they're just drag lines from ships. So I just ignore them. But I got to looking at them. And they're always in perfectly straight lines. And that got me to thinking, if it was a ship in a drag line for fishing, it wouldn't be perfectly straight. With the currents and the waves and everything going on in the ocean, the boat gets tossed around often. And not only that, with all the anomalies and the mountain passes and all that on the ocean floor, the nets would get thrown off. They wouldn't be perfect. And then I got to thinking, God, these look like they're pretty good size for the scale of Google Earth. So I measured one. They're 4 miles wide. So naturally I thought, well, a road system, right? But if it's a roadway, why do they take such sharp angles? And why do they go out of their way over here when the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line? They just cut straight through. And when I say these run everywhere, fam, they're all over the world. Only on the ocean floor, though. Through mountain passes. Perfect. Zigzag. The Red Sea. Boom. Up. So naturally, I started following them. And a lot of times, they'd converge into one spot. And this is what these spots would oftentimes look like up close, like a grid. And here's another one, up close, like almost like a grid, like a town. So I continued to follow them. Eventually it led me to the Azores Islands. And if you look closely, it comes into the Azores Islands. There's 3, 2, 3. What look like roadways coming off of it. So it's a hub of some sort. And those of you that watch my videos know that I pointed out the Azores Pyramid, which was bigger than the Pyramid of Giza recently discovered underwater. And that's when it hit me like a freight train, fam. When I was originally exploring the Azores Pyramid, I stumbled upon this. Here's what it looks like zoomed in. What are those? A piping network. Now some of y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to prove it. These are canals. Yes, you heard me right. A network of canals. Canals built by an ancient civilization to distribute water on Earth, part 2. My number one reasoning for this hypothesis, Mars. In the late 1800s, when astronomers first had good enough telescopes to look at Mars, they all drew them the same, with a vast network of highly technical canals to distribute water from the poles. This is a separate astronomer from the last picture. Same thing. And this is a 1962 Air Force sketch after they looked at Mars. Same thing. But if you look at Mars now, it's usually too hazy or foggy to see it. And what was Mars supposedly ravaged by? Nuclear war. Could this have happened here? Very possible. Most likely did. And it wasn't necessarily nuclear war. It could have been an asteroid. But either way, it either totally evaporated or incinerated the oceans. This is the Atlantic Ocean on Google Earth, towards the North Pole. Look at these massive fissures, if you will. What they're calling fault lines were man-made. And they were man-made to distribute water from the ice caps. Again, this is just a theory, but it has validity. Go take a look for yourself. They're all over the ocean floor, and they're perfectly grid-like. They're done geometrically perfect. My guess, the giants. The giants' civilization built them. When I said in my other video that fault in the Pacific Ocean was a trade route, it was. But it wasn't because the earth gave it water. It's because it was a massive canal. And the higher civilizations back then built them. Take a look from a distance. Up to the ice cap. All the way down. Then it breaks off. Even further back. Boom. Guarantee it. Otherwise, why wouldn't those two faults continue to the land? It was either a nuclear winter or an asteroid. When it first made impact, it had the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs. This would evaporate the water. This was said in scripture. At some point, the oceans burn up. Then nuclear winter, ice age. My guess would be that massive asteroid that they found under Antarctica, the crater that's 300 miles wide. So this would have been pre-Great Flood. And eventually, they probably figured out the subterranean pocket full of fresh water. Either that or the higher beings knew about it and they cracked it open. Again, this is subject to scrutiny, but take a look for yourself. I'm telling you, you heard it here first. Like and follow for more. Hollow Earths on other planets? You heard it here first. So by now, if you're a TikToker, then you've heard the theory of Hollow Earth. The first entrance on Earth was discovered by Admiral Richard Byrd in 1926 on his solo flight to the North Pole. He would then discover the other entrance in 1947 in Antarctica on Operation High Jump. Admiral Byrd's accounts have always intrigued me, so recently I did another story about a Venetian that came to visit Earth in the 1950s. He went by the name of Valiant Thor. You can go ahead and look it up. He supposedly worked at the Pentagon for over 3 years. He looked exactly like us, but he said he was from Venus. But of course the question arose, how are you living on Venus? It's so much closer to the sun, the surface is 800 degrees. To which he would reply, I don't live on the surface. We live in hollow Venus. After that, bells went off. If Earth is not only hollow, but Venus is as well, what does that mean? The potential for other planets to be hollow is high. So I began to look into this, starting with Mars. Here's Mars's North Pole. Can you see the little hole right in the middle? On top of that, this picture came from near Mars's South Pole. And it is believed that this is the full picture. Hollow Earth on Mars? Check. Next, I did Jupiter, and the first thing that popped up was this massive solar storm happening at the North Pole. At the time, this was happening every 26 minutes, and the light was brighter than the sun. So a hollow Jupiter? Yes. Then came Saturn, and this is mind-boggling. This is Saturn's South Pole, shaped perfectly like a hexagon. And you can see that obviously it circles in towards the center. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here. Saturn has a hollow Earth. Now we have Neptune. There's the North Pole of Neptune, circling in to one point. Now obviously I can't verify, but Saturn, hollow Earth. Then Uranus. A lot of people don't know this, but it's actually setting on its side. So poles are east and west. Scientists blame this on impact from a massive asteroid. This would result in the poles shifting, probably why Earth did as well. But as you can see, at the north end, they're having similar light phenomena. They claim the northern lights come from solar winds, which they may. But I gotta say, I find it odd that in all these planets, every one of them, the northern lights happen at the poles. If this light phenomenon was because of the interception of solar winds, why wouldn't it happen all over the planet? This comes from the Awakening the Truth 24/7 network. The lost city of Agartha discovered. A research team has discovered the lost city of Agartha, also known as the City of Crystals, located in Antarctica. As Admiral Byrd would describe in his diaries, it had rainbow hues of color. It also says that it's connected by an underground tunnel system to the Giza pyramids. The following is said to be video shot of the actual entrance to Agartha.